Hello. Thought we'd do something a little different this time. I'm going on a power walk, and usually I don't go with the flip camera on. What I'm going to do is I'm going to go on my 10-mile route and show you some of the interesting things that are along the way. Landmarks and such. Of course, while I'm doing this, it's not very much of a power walk. It is 1:53 p.m. and I gotta hold this with my shaky hand. We've only traveled, if you look at the bottom right, about 496 feet. So, as we hit things along the way, I'll start posting them. Here we go. As you notice, I did not start this at exactly 0 because I didn't want to exactly pinpoint where I lived. So here we are at 0.28 miles. So I'm holding this with my shaky hand, downtown Leominster. Now I showed you the distance, I can swap over to the left hand. And we start with the original McGrath building. That's the McGrath building that we're most familiar with. I call this the Bavenzi train wreck because he completely ruined the old character of the building. And here's the wood block. And we're going to be crossing over here, going to Pleasant Street, which is right over there. And we'll continue from that point. We just went a very slight distance further. We were just over there on the other side. We're now on Pleasant Street. And here's the Scanlon building. And there's something interesting more this way. 0.69 miles, and as you can tell, these stops are literally killing my time. But, like I said, we're pointing out interesting things. There's downtown Leominster, where we were at the last point. And we're in the bend on Pleasant Street. And as we go this way, to the right, is it's Bennett Street School. I'm thinking of another school, I don't know why. It's one of the oldest schools in the city of Leominster. 1872, I think it was built. And was added on to over time. There we go. It's just simply known as Bennett School. Don't know if it shows up. And right here is basketball court. Here's the back of the school. As you can see right here, this is an addition that was put on, I think, in the 1920s. Anyway, before the portable classrooms over here were put in, we used to be able to actually play baseball here as well. There were swing sets and all that, which are now over there behind the bleachers. People would treat the addition here as Fenway Park. If you could get the ball over the red monster, you got a home run. And as we can see when we move over, they got newer playground equipment over there. And here's Lane's Market. It's a small convenience store. Big hangout with the kids, even today. It's been around for ages. It's closed right now because it's Sunday. Let's see what other exciting things are on the way. As you can see, showing stuff is really killing my time. I can go about 4 miles an hour or 375 feet per minute for you elevator geeks. And the city was removing dead trees when, Oopsie, yep. Kind of a little mishap here. Let's go up a little more. Literally maybe another few hundred feet. Just a little before the next point of interest, this is another condemned tree. Notice how this house is still in one piece? That's how it's supposed to go. Now literally right where that White House is the next stop. Here we are, 1.17 miles in. And this is the next point of interest I want you to kind of see. Right there is a green house. It's hard to see. That's where I lived from 1988 to 2000 when I moved to my current place that I live now. And here's Manchester Street coming right up. This was where I waited for the bus when I was in high school. And as we go along, we're getting further away from the center of town, and there'll be fewer stops along the way, so I might actually get some exercise in. So, before we stop, we got a little more to show you. Because we're coming into a relatively historic area right now. Historic as in pre-America. Here on the left, not this brown house, but the small one next to it. House dated in the 1700s. And at some point, someone related to my mother lived here. I think it was my mother. And supposedly I stayed here overnight one point. I don't remember it being this house, but I do remember staying overnight around here. Anyway, rumor mill has it this house is haunted. And I just didn't remember what scared me senseless being in that house, but apparently that was it. I don't remember seeing any ghosts, but I remember I was always scared to go there. And here's what was once considered the oldest house in the city of Leominster. Well, that's not really true, apparently. It seems that every year there is a new oldest house in Leominster. No one can really pinpoint which one is what. And this was a mill built in 1812, as seen right there on the plaque. I don't remember what it was for. I can look it up in a book and post a little something, say, right about there. And we're coming up to Sylvan Ave, and, well, pretty much all the history is done right now. So now we'll keep on going. I believe we're going to go quite a ways from here. Here we are, 2.15 in, and this whole side of the street used to be a big farm. In fact, here's the barn here. Sadly, it's completely shot. I don't know if it's showing up on video, but in that door right there, you can actually see daylight. And you can actually see the floor has collapsed inside it. Might not be showing up on video, but in person you can see the beams have fallen in. Now the house itself and half of the L are well maintained, but from where the driveway ends to the barn, not so much. And there's something at the end of the street. 2.46 miles into the event, we're here at the intersection of Wachusett, Pleasant, which we were on since downtown Leominster, and Union Street. And all these houses here were built in the mid-2000s. It used to be part of Fallbrook Farm way down there. And there's a dedicated video to the number 6 Schoolhouse Community Center building This was the number 6 schoolhouse built in the 1700s, although that's not the original building. The first one was built there. Second building was built next to it. Then ultimately they replaced the second with this current building. It was open until 1931, when the school closed for good, and supposedly outside of probably some code updates and maybe some internet access perhaps, it is the same as it's been since 1931. That means the potbelly stove is used to heat the building during the winter. Behind those houses, there's some greenhouses that Fallbrook Farm gave up some of the land to. Then ultimately in the 90s, the farm failed. So that's what's over here. Now we're gonna head up Pleasant. We're done Pleasant. We're heading up Wachusett Street. There's some stuff here as well, but we gotta go a ways. At 2.71 miles in, we're at the Fallbrook Reservoir water treatment facility. And that's what's here at 100 Wachusett Street, as well as the big power lines. On our return trip, we will pass these again on another street. And here's the reservoir. And as you can see, it's pretty full. In fact, some of the vegetation, especially on this side, which you can't see, is actually underwater. So yeah, we've had actually enough rain for this season. Let's go this way. There's another conservation act that occurred, which is not very apparent. 2.93 miles in. On the Municipal Trail, we see a conservation act. They're preserving the life of these pine trees. Now, one thing you might have noticed is, how are they preserving them if they're cutting them all down? Well, these particular pine trees are not the kind that grow very well in large groups. As you can see, that they're very sunlight dependent, and where there were tons of them growing next to each other, all the lower limbs died, and all the nutrients that they need are generated by the leaves at the very top, which, like a person that's really out of shape, makes it much harder to sustain life. Ultimately, if they were kept that way, all these trees would just completely die. So to preserve what's there, they cut out all the middle ones, which cutting out all the middles will save all these that are on the edge. It's better to lose a lot of them than everything. In fact, you can see quite a few there that suffered the ultimate fate. They died from just working too hard to try to stay alive. I got a little something more fun and recreational further up, and it is 2:47. At 3.62, we're about to round a large sweeping turn, and over here used to be the Grandview Country Club, and there's a gazebo right there. It's really hard to see. It closed in 2000 or so. As you can see, the golf cart path is pretty much shot, and now is part of the, I think it's called the Vashon Wildlife Refuge area. In fact, here's a abandoned sign right here, and this was a hole that used to be here, and an advertisement there. Oops, I crossed over the border by accident. That was not intended. But if we go up another couple hundred feet that way, we'll see it. and that's where we'll start next. Alrighty, we were just a little below line of sight there, making the big turn. And here we are to the entrance of Vashon's Wildlife Sanctuary. And something that caught me last year, which was 2010 as of this recording, golfers entrance and exit next right. That was interesting because in the spring and summer of 2010, that wasn't there. And as you can probably see up here, the country club has reopened. Sometime in the fall of 2010, or very late summer. I know early summer it wasn't here. There's the clubhouse. As you can see, there's golfers galore. And we won't be able to zoom in, but right there's the sign with the rules and the name. And you gotta check in there before you golf. Let's go another couple hundred feet and get a good shot of some of the terrain. Now you can see why it's called the Grand View Country Club. It has a spectacular view. And here's what I want you to see right here. Some of the terrain. Because during the midsummer, I noticed they started putting sand in these sand traps. They were all overgrown. And the green was cut, but there was no flag. And then during the fall, I discovered Country Club reopened, although I'm sure it's probably 9 holes because a large chunk of it is wildlife refuge now. So there's the green, there's some sand traps, and if we go a little further, you can see the next hole. I don't know if you can see it, but this one's marked as 1. This was not hole 1 originally. I believe it was 4. Here's the tee for the second hole. Right there. You can probably see the two two pegs that mark the position. And there's the golf course. And it goes way up into there somewhere. Alrighty, we're at... This is really killing me time-wise. We're at 3:06. And only 4 miles in. There we go. But we've got a long ways to go down Wachusett Street. Well, actually we don't. We're going to stop at a point to show you why this is called Wachusett Street. Alrighty, 4 1/4 in. We're at Wachusett Street. This is why it's called Wachusett Street. Because as soon as you make that sweeping turn past the golf course and come down a hill, there's Wachusett Mountain, front and center. Now we're going to go a mile or two without anything of interest. Here we are, 4.94 miles. The halfway point of this walk. Here we are at the new street we're turning on, Elm Street. We're going that way. And there's Wachusett Street, which we just finished. This is, to the best of my knowledge, the southernmost major artery intersection in the city of Leominster. So if you go that way into Sterling, it's only about a 1/4 mile or so till you hit the town line. So, with that being said, let's continue the adventure at 3:23. Another 1/10 of a mile down the road, we're here at the Leominster Sportsmen Association's picnic area. Since that intersection over there, where that SUV is turning into, we've been in Sportsmen Association territory. The woods there, and on this side is property of the Leominster Sportsmen Association. And if we go a little further this way, we'll see some gun ranges. Alrighty, another 250 feet down the road from where we were. Here are the clay pigeon slash target practice slash rifle range area here at the Leominster Sportsmen Association. And Wachusett Mountain creeping up in the background. And if we go a little more this way, we can get another glimpse of the shooting range. Looks like it's general target practice. They do clay pigeon shooting here too. Now we'll go just another couple hundred feet. And just another few hundred feet from there. This is pretty, this waterfall. Used to help control the waters in the city. Is the Leominster Sportsmen Association itself. It's in this fake log cabin building. And over here they have fishing here at this pond. In fact, on that little bridge over that fall is another fishing spot. And as long as you're a member of the association, you can fish here. You can boat here. You got picnic tables. And that's what's here. Let's see what's further up down the road. 5.74 miles in at a time that I'd be about 8 into this walk. I stumble on a couple of abandoned properties. Here's one. Let's start over here. There's some machinery down there too. A lot of barrels. There's some machinery back there too. Storage. Yeah, a little backhoe there. It looks like that's what that is. On the back of a dump truck here. We go near the top of the hill right around there. We got some houses. Let's look at those. Alright, we're nearly at the top of that little hill we just showed you. As you notice here, there are houses along the side of the street. When I went to high school in the late 80s, early 90s, this was all woods. Except for the houses over here, like this one, and the two I want to show you next. In fact, I think even as late as 2000, these weren't here. Haven't been around much since, like maybe a couple years. Alrighty. Now we're coming up on some more abandoned property. This house over here, not this yellow one yet. This one could use a little work. And I think a little paint, a little spackle. And I think that could be fixed up. And here's the house that was next door to it. And I believe the greenhouse was a kid we actually picked up on the bus. And that's the abandoned properties that are along this road. And there's a door right there. Let's go up a little further. Oh, before I wrap it up, we just went another 150 feet. One more abandoned property. And another abandoned house we can't get next to. Now we'll go to where something more will come up, but quite a bit further down the road. 6.63 miles in, we come to a road that used to go to Westminster from here. Parmenter Road. Of all the surrounding communities, Westminster is now the only one that does not have a direct road linking Leominster to it. This road used to be that one road that had a direct connection to Westminster. Now you have to either go through Sterling or Fitchburg. And here we are again, back on West Street, and that's the way we want to go. We're on Elm Street. That's looking in the direction we came. That's the direction we're going. And this is a pivotal point right here. There doesn't seem to be much of anything, but this is the highest point on the entire walk. We started this at 420 feet in elevation near downtown Leominster, and it's about 960 feet. That's where we're at now. So back we go, 6.92 miles in. All we gotta say now is going down. 417. And in the time I could finish the whole 10 miles, we're at 8.05. Here's a farm with horses. Nice view. In fact, the barking here is a dog kennel that's next door to this. There's the horses. The parent nurturing its young. Now we get a better view a little further up the road. There we are, Richard's Luxury Kennel. There it is. Which is owned by the family in that farmhouse there. And as we pass the farmhouse, there's some running pastures for the horses and a beautiful view. And there it is. And there's South Monusnock Hill, big hump right there. That's where the abandoned granite quarry is. I got a 3-part video on that, if you want to check that out. And there's a farmhouse up there on that hill, and we'll continue it. It's right there in just a minute. Alrighty, now we're up to this farmhouse. I don't know how long it's been, but since around maybe 20 or so years, when I was going in high school, this was abandoned. And in the early 2000s, Bovenzi took this and renovated it. And you might remember the building that I refer to as the Bovenzi train wreck, aka the first McGrath building. Well, this is another train wreck of his. This house does not look anything like it originally did. For example, the windows are about 6 inches too narrow. And as you can see, the windows have a 6/6. It was originally 1/1. back is almost a relatively decent duplicate of what was originally there. And all this land where these houses are is farmland that used to be part of that farm. And the farm was where, as I said, that garage is. So none of these houses existed. In fact, all of these are only a couple of years old. These two, nothing's happening with them. Seems like an abandoned project pretty much. Still might be going. That one hasn't moved at all. This one, yeah, every now and then you can see something going on. So I thought you'd like to see that farmhouse. Ready? Time to move on. 883. Civilization begins. Right up that hill is pretty much where it stops. Now we're starting to get into the thickly settled sections of Leominster heading downtown. 9.36 miles in. We're finally reaching the end of Elm Street. And now we're hitting Pond Street, which goes that away. And there's the pond. And over there where that guy is, you can't see it because it's underneath the road, but there's a dam that used to power the mill building that's no longer there. It's between that big white house there and this small gray building. In fact, as we cross the street, I'll show you that the foundation is still there. Here we are. And the building went all the way right up to where where that fencing is. You can see the stone wall, sort of. And now you can't quite see the dam. You can see the result. And there's the pond. Part of the Municipal Brook, which goes that away. And that was an add-on to the mill building that stood here. Like I said, the front of the building was right here, and it continued along that path. The foundation wall from here on over was demolished. And I don't know what they did there, but the gap, they cut out a section and put Jersey berries in. I'll end this section with some geese. Sorry about the wind. There is a slight breeze today. And now we're heading towards West Street, which is that away. There's the Leominster Senior Center and the Senior Veterans Center in the center. And the guy that owns all this lives here. And he's got some big boats in that building. Alrighty, next up, West Street. And here's West Street, and around the corner we came. And just a little further down is downtown Leominster. Now it's a matter of crossing the street at some point. And here we are, just about 400 feet in, downtown Leominster. There's the woodblock that we saw in the very beginning. A little piece of the Pevensey train wreck there. And there's City Hall. And we're going to cross the street right where that sign is. And continue down School Street. The name escaped me for a moment. Alright, We were on that side of West Street. We are now on School Street. There's Verizon, everyone's favorite telephone company. And as we go up School Street, we have the Leominster Historical Society, which is inside the old Field Street Elementary School. No idea when that closed, but I know it was still a school in the 50s. And over there, the former Gallagher Junior High School. That closed in, I think, either 1990 or 1991. Municipal offices are in the school part. And over here is the district court. The basement is where they lock up the prisoners. That used to be the boys and girls locker rooms. The girls on the side we're on now. The first floor, technically there wasn't one. It was just stadium seating, bench style, for the gymnasium that was in the basement. And the second and third floor was the auditorium. And that was the window to the balcony. And that's what was there. And these all used to be residential homes. Some of them still are, but these two in particular are lawyer offices now. Here we are, Leominster Trial Court. And now we gotta cross Merriam Ave, which is the street that car just going across the screen is traveling on. 9.84 miles in. We just came in off that end and came down here. Here was the main entrance to the junior high school when it was a junior high. And all these homes are pretty much, professional office suites, lawyers, accountants. And there's that one directly in front of you right there is a residence. There's the police station, the fire station, the parking garage, which has a YouTube first. The very first ever man-powered elevator video ever recorded there. And right there, in the center of your picture, the building that appears to be 2 stories tall. This is the former Grant's department store, then became Savatelli's department store, and now it's office space. And this is known to have, as we say in circles in this channel, it has the world's fastest elevator in there in terms of a regular traction model. Regular passenger traction, not a special handicap dealie or what have not. It's literally holding the record for, as we call it, the world's fastest. And here we are, approaching Main Street. That used to be the YMCA, originally the Rialto Theater. Now it's a church. And as I'm walking by, I think it might no longer be red tagged speedy. Gotta find out someday. Here it is, the Christian Life Center, and there's the world famous Columbia Hotel building and the Leominster Post Office. And it's gonna be a while before we can cross the street. Oh no, actually the other guys get a chance, and that's when I'll cross. 4:55. Normally I'd get this done in 2.5 hours, give or take 10 minutes for traffic. And it's taken over 3. Here's the mobile, there's the post office, the famous Columbia Hotel building. Then again, I know I pretty much took away all the exercise benefits of walking this by stopping and showing you all the interesting things that are along the path, but I think it's worth it, don't you? Hope you enjoyed it, but we're not done yet. And we get someone who does not grasp the concept of yielding to pedestrians. Here on camera. That used to be an abandoned apartment house. It was literally collapsing. It was fixed up. There's St. Leo's School. And Sunset Tower's right there. And I'm going to be ending this video here because I know it is in some videos, but I want to make you work to try to figure out where exactly I live. I'm getting close enough right now. And with some retakes and what have not, the distance is ever so slightly longer than it really is. It comes out to an exact 10 miles. I've measured it. And here we come to Summer Street. And Carter Park, where I have done a video on there. St. Leo's School there. And a kid that I gotta try to keep out of frame. And this will be the end of the video. We'll stop right here and take a look at this old, I believe, Civil War era cannon. There it is. And there's a monument for it. Well, I hope you enjoyed looking at all the special, interesting things that are along this 10-mile walk. Bye.